Good morning, friends. Here I am back again with my Thursday live. Today I'm going to be talking about needs and mainly focus on needs of a child. Have we ever thought about this? Has any parent really given enough thought and enough introspection or enough reading over what are the needs of children? What do they need? What is it that is important for them? And so today I'm going to be talking a little about this. If anybody is viewing my session right away, you all can, in the comments box, if you all just start listing in what according to you are the needs of your child, it would be easy for me to make it as interactive as possible. So do start putting in the comments the needs that you see for your children. Okay, so I'm going to wait for a minute, and while you all are doing so, I'm going to share a small story. So long ago, long not so long ago actually. It was just around the time when I started. We started our homeschooling journey, and me being into the field of education, having worked with vulnerable children as well as children from affluent backgrounds and in schools in alternate spaces. There was a very deep desire in me to have a learning center of my own and to bring forth everything that I had learned in my own during my journey so far and to see it work. So we had started homeschooling. My children were out of school. So the best thing that I thought I could do was start a learning space for my children. And we started it. We rented out a beautiful bungalow. We stayed on the first floor, and the ground floor was used for the center. It had a wonderful outdoor space. It was a beautiful space. Now, looking at it from the needs perspective, I saw as we progressed and as a few months passed by, I realized that the need for the center was mine. It was not my children. The desire or the want for a center was mine. It was not my children's. My children at that point of time wanted to be left alone. They wanted their privacy. Um, they wanted to just explore and experience freedom without anybody having to tell them anything. And that's where we were. uh, as I slowly introspected over this and I sorted out all the emotions that were there inside me, because there were so many questions and there was frustration as to why do my children don't want to participate in the workshops that I organize. I get a full house for all the workshops that I organize, but my children don't want to participate in it. Gradually, it also started becoming so that my children did not want to share me with anybody else, and they wanted me wholly to themselves. And that was when I realized that my role as a parent right now was more important than running a learning space. And that is when I decided to close down the learning space that I had started. So, with that, I would like to share a few slides where we look at what are these needs that we need to look at, and what are the needs that we need to think about when we think about children. So, I'm going to take you to the next slide. Um, Okay. So, all those parents who have studied a little bit of psychology, or have studied um, a little bit of child development, will have seen this theory of needs. This is Maslow's theory of needs, and it is quite famous. It is, in fact, it features not only in psychology textbooks and child development books, but also the marketing industry, and has made use of this theory of needs. So when we look at any individual, not exactly a child, they have every individual has certain basic needs, certain psychological needs, and certain needs which are around self fulfillment, right? So, what would be your basic needs? Basic needs are some needs that are very simple. I need food to survive. I need water. I need warmth. I need rest. I need a shelter. I need clothes to wear. Then I need to feel safe and secure. So these are your basic needs. And when we look at children as to when they were born, when they were when they were born, the tiny little blob that comes out of you, and the first thing that the child needs, I have seen, is mainly warmth of their mom, and then food. And these two needs govern their lives for a few months, apart from the need to, feel clean, because when they poop or they do or pee, they definitely start wailing and crying because they feel the discomfort. Their need is to sleep and rest, and just spend and just be with their moms as much as possible. So these are the basic needs of a newborn. And as the newborn grows, the world increases. And as the world increases, the need to feel safe, the need to feel secure is important. And that's when, when a stranger comes in front of a child, the child immediately starts crying, because, and that's the way they express that need, that they don't feel comfortable when there's a stranger around. Slowly, as they grow, there are many needs that come into fore. The need to explore, the need to touch and see everything, the need to have space and the time to for them to reach one milestone after another. So, from being somebody who can only move their limbs, and to be able to hold their neck, to be able to turn, and then to crawl, sit, stand, walk. So these are simple needs that a child has when they are young. As they grow older, they gain in the ability to talk, to converse, to express themselves through words, and they learn language. And that also is a need, because they want to communicate, they want to express themselves. And that need is also, when you look at Maslow's need, the psychological needs, the need to feel belonged to somebody, the need to feel the love, to have relationships, to have friends, become your very important needs during your growing up stage. Not only growing up stage, in fact, I think even today, as a 45-year-old woman, I have the need to feel belonged, and to be loved by my family, and to have friends, and so on. So these are the beginning of our psychological needs. Finally, we look at needs for self esteem, to to feel worthy, to feel ill worth something. And that uh, comes to us with a sense of achievement, a sense of accomplishment, a sense of reaching our goals, our tasks, or doing something that we have never done so those help us grow in our self-esteem, our confidence levels, and the way we think about ourselves too. So our identity, our self-identity, and so on. And finally, Maslow says an important aspect of needs is your self actualization needs, where you are looking at achieving your or full potential, all your creative needs, all your the purpose, your purpose in life. What do you feel you want to do in your life? So those are your self actualization needs. And believe me or not, though I have shared this, as something that grows in a child, my experience has been that somewhere there is an element of all these needs, even in infants, which would be at their level. So for a child would definitely feel fulfilled when they are able to make sense of things. A child would feel ill, their self-esteem increase when they are able to master certain tasks and achieve certain things. So this theory of needs is something that we all should be aware of. And as homeschooling parents, this theory also helps us look at whether we are thinking about the needs of our children. Have we thought about what are my child's physiological needs, safety needs, belongingness, need for belongingness? So this theory helps us look at that. Now, this theory cannot exist without a social setting, because we are all social beings, and for everything to happen or for us to achieve anything, there is an internal process that goes on, which happens with every individual, and there is an external process also where we are relating to the world and to our social situation. And with that, I'm going to take you all to the next theory, which I feel is very important for us to know, which is the ecological systems theory. Now, this theory is very interesting and it's very simple also to understand. I think each one of us, we can see how our children have grown in a social setting. So when you are an infant, you are basically spending a lot of time with yourself and your mom. That's all that your or ecological system consists of, and maybe the bed on which you sleep and the bathroom where you take a bath, or the malish wali bai who gives you a malish every day. Hey, your father, mother, that's all, and whoever else is there in the house. So your brothers, sisters, those form your or those form your immediate microsystem, and many of your needs, right from a very young age, the child starts to learn to negotiate his needs within that system. And we also, and then what happens is there is a play of the other person's needs and the child's needs that are coming together, and it can either become cohesive and could become something that can become an enjoyable experience, or it can be something where the parents needs or the needs of others are exactly opposite to what the child needs, and then there could be chaos. Then as the child grows, the world increases a little bit once the child is taken out in the neighborhood, or in the area around, in the gardens, in the parks, in maybe to friends houses or relatives houses. They That way the social setting increases a little more, and that becomes your mesosystem where connections are important. School also becomes part of this mesosystem, as the child gets enrolled in a space where he has to spend many hours of his of his waking days, is in a space which is completely different from something that the child was comfortable about. uh, what would become more indirect would be your exosystem, which would be probably the city that you are living in. It could be a space that you are part of. So, like a village, town, Zilla Parishad, it could be your state. These all form an indirect environment which does not have a direct impact on the child or even you as an individual. However, whatever is happening in over there, so the political, religious settings also affect, and that becomes your macro system. Macro system where the social, cultural values are important, and they play a role in what you are and what you are doing. Finally, we you have the entire world, which is also known as the chrono system, which changes slowly over time, maybe generations and generations later. And we are seeing massive change in the chrono system right now with the pandemic coming in, and that change has become very suddenly. From being free to move around, we have to live with a situation where we cannot move around freely. And now, why am I sharing all this? I'm sharing all this is because since we are social beings and we don't live in isolation, we live with everybody. There are many factors from our social system that impact the needs of me as a parent and needs of a child as an individual too. So, with this theory, I'll also talk about I'll also talk about another dimension to the developmental needs of a child. Their health, education, emotional development, identity, family relationships, social presentation, self care. So there are, one can classify needs of any individuals in many different ways. And in fact, our child rights theory also talks about is based on the needs that have been identified for children. So some of them, the need to play, the need to learn, the need to have a proper education, all these are considered to be needs of a child. However, what I want to share over here is all these needs are being decided or have been researched and laid down by adults. There's something that an adult sees for a child. Have we ever asked ourselves, have we ever thought about what is it that my child needs? Especially when we are designing a learning program for our child, we are designing a learning curriculum. So when I think about my children, I see that their need is, apart from the need to feel safe and to satisfy their basic needs of food, water, clothing, shelter, and the other needs associated with these four needs, that is the need to sleep, the need to have a comfortable space for themselves, and the need to have clean and hygienic food. I think apart from that, there are many other needs that my children have expressed to me time and again. And what are those needs? And those needs that I see are the need to explore, the need to be able to have that freedom to explore on their own terms. you know so I remember when my oldest was really small, there was somewhere a gap between his need to explore and my expectations. I always wanted him to explore within the boundaries that I set for him. However, he didn't want those boundaries. For example, my oldest would want to go to a park, the same park every day, and instead of playing on the swings and the slides, he wanted to sit down and watch the snails. And was this was not what I wanted for him. I wanted him to play and develop his motor skills and his ability to swing, to slide, and to feel confident about it, and to manage himself on the slide without falling. And in spite of hundreds of children being there to navigate his way and get his way through. And however, his need was very different. So, are we aware of this need to explore and explore in one's own way? I, I don't know what he must have learned by looking at those snails over and over again, but he used to be engrossed in watching them. Probably it made a lot of sense to him, and he was trying to make sense about it when he watched those snails. He saw how they moved, and this I got to know when he started asking questions. He started showing things, through his actions. So there was one day when he tried to, wriggle, slide. I don't know what the exact word is, slide and move just the way the snail does. And then he turned back and said, "Mama, it's so difficult. It's so hard. I can't do it. I wonder how the snails do it." So, with this, can you see the curiosity? So, the need to satisfy this curiosity. And the need to satisfy this curiosity also comes, and what comes with wanting answers, finding meaning in whatever you observe. Similarly, when we used to watch shadows, and while watching shadows, my son was intrigued with the shadows changing shapes and length. Sometimes it used to be long, sometimes he used to look fat, sometimes, and then he would wonder. So one fine day, somebody in his play group said that you can see shadows when there's sunlight. When there's no sunlight, you don't see shadows. So he came to me and said that, "Mama, they are wrong." I said, "Why do you think they are wrong?" "Mama, when we turn on the bulb or when we walk on the road where there are street lights, you yet see shadows. So isn't it wrong to say that only when there is sunlight, or when there's sunlight, you can and see shadows?" And then, so his need was to express these questions that he had in his mind, and his need was to also get answers to these questions. Now, if I had shunned these answers or these questions, and and if I had said that, whatever you do in your play group, your teacher knows the best and she knows everything. Instead of that, I think, as a parent, my role was to help him see ahead. So when he expressed about this curiosity, I went on to doing a lot of activities with shadows. And I also helped him gain that confidence to go and share with his teachers why he felt that shadows are not only formed during sunlight, and why can we see shadows at night too. And he did that. And when he did that, he had a sense of fulfillment. He had a sense of fulfillment, a sense of achievement. And my role over here was to facilitate that process, right? Now, what happens these days? What happens when we directly adopt a curriculum or something that someone else has set for us? Somewhere down the line, whatever the child is curious about at that point of time is shunned away. We say, so many times we tell the child, oh, this is not the time for this lesson on shadows. Probably I would have done that if I was following a curriculum. I would have said, oh, that is chapter 9. We are going to do it later. Now we are going to we're going to study plant life because that is what is there in our planner. So what I'm trying to get at here, parents, is how aware are we about of these needs? The need for a child to explore, the need for the child to make sense, the need for of a child to be curious and to feel okay to be curious. So many times we just say that when you grow up you will learn about this is not your time to ask questions like right now. So often, by making such statements, or if we don't have the time, we say, oh, not now, later, or oh, go find things for yourself, or um, we in a way we kind of tell our children that your curiosity is not important. Only what I tell you, only what the syllabus asks you to learn is important. And when that happens, somewhere they start losing, that inner core or that inner self, who which has so many questions, so many thoughts, and so many ideas about a lot of things. And that's where somewhere we are killing the curiosity of our child. And this trickles down to all the other needs, the needs for self actualization, that is, the need to feel fulfilled, the need to feel charged up and enthusiastic about whatever one is doing. And that happens when you are satisfying your desires, your needs to be able to achieve something. So this is what I wanted to share with this session uh, on needs. And just another slide that I want to take you all to is about needs and wants. How many of us have thought about differentiating between a need and a want? Let me give you an example. There's an example on this slide. Learning can be considered to be a need, which is shared by both the parent and the child. However, want. A child may want to learn in a particular way, maybe through natural exploration, and the child, uh, from their inner self, they might want to go in that direction, whereas the parents may feel that learning needs can be satisfied by enrolling them in a learning program or a school. So it could be an online school or a regular school, or it could be the parent becoming a tutor or starting the typical homeschooling, school at home kind of kind of a environment. The other example that I can think of in terms of needs and wants, one is food is a need of everybody. But but that can be translated into a want when I say that I want a burger only to satisfy my need to eat or my need for food. So need is something which is required for survival, whereas a want is something that one desires to have, and not getting it is not a question of life or death. It's not a survival question, right? So I know that I can survive without a burger. Similarly, with homeschooling parents, do we believe that our children can still do it in life without having a curriculum, without having a fixed schedule every day, or without having a fixed set of tasks that have been planned? Have we introspected around these lines? And do we ever consider that a child, with his need for belongingness as well as the need to communicate, express, they would want to have a say in what is being decided for them? And that can start when they decide on something as simple as what clothes they want to wear, or what food they want to eat, or what books they want to read, or what games they want to play, or whom they want to play with. And so are we open to looking at these needs that our children are expressing? And if we do so, then we will involve them in creating the homeschooling curriculum. If not, then we take the parenting style of becoming an authoritarian figure, who decides everything for the child, who believes that a child doesn't know anything and I have to tell, and they have to obey me, they have to do what I say, and if they don't, then they'll be punished, and then use the conditioning way of teaching a child something. So is that how you homeschoolers would like to go by, developing your homeschooling curriculum? So all these things, tie up everything to create, and helps you create a good and sound curriculum for your child. So uh, like in the first session, I helped you all become aware of the various things that are involved in designing a curriculum. The second session, we looked at notions of a childhood, notions of a child, what is a child. We looked at three views in that: the romantic view, the Puritan view, and the rights perspective. Then we also looked at parenting styles in the following session, where we looked at how a parent is uh, impacts on what is being designed in terms of a curriculum. We also looked at learning styles and how children can have different learning styles and multiple intelligences with which they learn. And today we are looking at needs. So all these sessions need to be looked as a cohesive whole, and parents need to now start reflecting and thinking about what is it that they want to design for their children. Do they just want to buy a curriculum which has been designed by somebody else, or would they like to sit down, think about their child, understand themselves along the process too, and then create something together? Now, mind you, this doesn't happen in a chronological order. This is all a mishmash. Things, happen, your reflections come at a time. So it is a very intermingled, chaotic process. And segregating the strands, to do that, one needs to be very mindful, one needs to be very accepting of themselves as well as their children. Now, on that note, I'm going to just take you all to the last slide that I have. And I want all parents to ponder over these questions. Have you ever asked your children about their needs? In what different ways do children express their needs? Children may not necessarily express their needs through words. It will happen through actions. It will happen through verbal, non-verbal expressions. The way their face falls, or eyes brighten up, or there's a smile on their face, or uh, they their tantrums are also a sign of expressing something that is their need. So how have we ever thought and observed our own children around these areas? Do I, as a parent, believe that a child may be aware of their own needs? Do I ever think that my child might know what he needs right now? Like, I have grown from a phase where I used to become anxious and worried about the eating habits that my children had. All three of them have been fussy eaters, and I would constantly feel that they don't know about their how food is important for their well-being. However, for them, as my son, my oldest, grew up and he was able to share what he went through, he simply said, I know when I'm hungry. I will tell you when I'm hungry. Why can't you believe me? Why can't you believe that I know that I am hungry? These words and these expressions from my child. So, initially in their younger days, they expressed this need in various ways by not eating, taking too much time to eat, by getting distracted and wanting to just, get up and run and do something else. So, but I never took those cues. So, are we observant enough to take those cues? Now, I think with the third one, I've become more free and more open. And now I know that, when my daughter is not eating something and she's just playing with her spoon at the table, I know that she's not hungry. And then I immediately help her find a solution instead of making it a problem. I say, okay, would you want to cover it and keep it and eat whenever you are hungry? And most often her face brightens up when I say that, and she quickly goes, she covers it, and now she comes back to saying that, okay, now I'm ready to eat, can I heat it up, can you heat it up for me, I don't want to eat it cold. And now the trust has grown even more, where she says that, can I eat something else, I have not kind of liked this. So now I'm helping my children and become more and more aware of what is it that they want, what is it that they need. And I am trying to keep my needs, my anxieties, my fears aside, and believing and trusting that my children know. So my last question to everybody is, am I, as a parent, aware of how my need interferes with my child's need? In other words, do I ever ask myself, whose need is it anyways? So is it my need that I want my child to do something, or is it my child's need? And on this note, I'm going to share something that has been disturbing me for the past 2 3 days. Recently, I saw a post which was asking parents if they would be interested in a 21-day a reading challenge for children. I urge all parents to ask themselves, is this reading challenge a need of the parent, or is it the need of the child? And why? Why do we need a reading challenge? Aren't you satisfied with whatever level your child is at right now? My second son has started reading a lot at the age of 12. I wonder how things would have been if I had forced him to read when he was not ready. Right now, he loves reading. He reads comics, he reads books, he enjoys them, he narrates the stories back to me. I wonder if this would have happened if I had forced him to read when he was not ready. Even now, my daughter is very particular about when she wants to read and what she wants to read. If I put in a timetable and say we are going to read every day at this time, very often she doesn't like it. She says, "Can I read when I want to? I have something else on my mind to do." And am I, as a parent, open to that? So, on that note, I urge all parents to think about the ways in which our actions impact on our children, the ways in which whatever we do, oh, whatever actions we take, what is it resulting into? And that can happen only when we have a sound understanding of whether it is my need or whether it is my child's need. Um, on that note, I'm going to end this session. I I hope my sessions help parents to become more and more or open and understanding towards their children. My The only intention I have with doing these sessions is the well-being of your child, who's going to grow up to become a responsible individual, a responsible citizen, an independent citizen. And unless and until they are able to express what their inner core is asking them to, who or the inner core is yearning to express, how will they be able to deal with all the problems that are there in society? And the problem of whether they would be happy, you know, in whatever profession they get into. If it is a profession of their choice, they would be much happier than something they do because that is what is expected of them, and that is what they have to do because this is, uh, you know, what they have been conditioned and to do so far. So, just my basic urge. It's also because I see so many children, young adults having so many emotional and mental health issues, suicidal tendencies, and a lot, and this whole sense of not being where we want to. And that, I think, is something that we parents, especially we homeschoolers, or in fact, even if our children are going to school, if we are aware and conscious parents, and we don't intrude too much in school matters and things that our children are doing, I think, and we don't put too much attention to competition, assessments, and wanting our child to do, to stand first or second or to ace competitions, and I guess we will be at a much safer space. So, on that note, I think I'm going to end. I don't see any questions and I don't see any feedback also. So, do share your questions and do share your feedback in the comment section. And thank you so much for listening to me. And have a great day. So that I end my broadcast.